Hello, this is Newslive on Viewer Television. I am Jennifer Okolo. We begin with the headlines. House of Representatives asks security agencies to intensify response to bandit attacks. Federal government urges citizens to link NIN to SIM, rules out deadline extension plus. 4 dead in South Korea, Air Force jet crash. President Muhammadu Buhari has met behind closed doors with his Chadian leader, General Muhammad Debi, in the presidential villa Abuja. Debi, the interim president and chairman of Transitional Military Council Chad, last visited Nigeria in May 2021. According to reports, the two leaders will deliberate on the ongoing fight against insurgency and terrorism in the Lake Chad region where they share a boundary. Buhari had on Thursday engaged his Nigerian counterpart Mohammed Bazoum in bilateral talks in the presidential villa. The two leaders deliberated on how best to tackle challenges of security and strategic stability affecting the sub-region and the globe. Bazoum, who addressed newsmen at the end of the visit, expressed appreciation to Buhari for approving the $1.96 billion Kano-Katsina Maradi railway project. Now, the House of Representatives has urged security agencies to intensify responses to armed bandits attacks in Giwa and Binigwari local government areas of Kaduna State. This followed adoption of a motion moved on the matters of urgent public importance by Representative Shehu Balarabe from Kaduna State on attacks on communities in his constituency, where more than 117 have been killed, 130 abducted, and valuables stolen. The reports.
With bandit attacks on the roads and railways and attempts on Kaduna Airport, it's been one attack too many. In his debate, Representative Shehu Balarabe said attacks on people in Kaduna State, particularly his constituency, is already unbearable, where many have been killed, abducted, cows, goats, vehicles, and motorcycles stolen.
Concerned that victims of this attack who have been displaced in my constituency are taking refuge in local government and local government areas. Mararaba Yakawada, Women's Center Yakawada, Town Hall Yakawada, Primary Health Care Yakawada, BATC Giwa, Fatika District Head Office and his official residence. LEA and Dr. Shehu Lawal Girls Secondary School, Giwa.
Other members who contributed described the motion as worrisome. They are shocked that the security agencies cannot track down bandits that have contact with families of those abducted from the train for ransom.
Government in this case has to rise up to its responsibility. Call a spade is paid. If it's about funding, each and every one of us here knows we have never had any cause to contemplate funding our security agencies. And I believe our relevant committees are following up in terms of implementation of such fundings through our budgets, through their oversight processes. Then why things should continue this way? We are here for Nigerian people, and we must speak for Nigerian people. We cannot sit down here, fold our arms, see our electors, people who elected us into our respective offices, being killed by the day.
Security is of the primacy of governance. Any government that fails and or neglects to secure the lives and property of its citizenry, that government is not supposed to last longer than absolutely necessary, because that is the primacy of governance. We have social contract with the people, and the fundamental of the social contract that we have with the people, those of us that were elected, whether in the executive or the legislative arm of government, is to provide peace, order, and good governance.
It's just like a medical doctor putting professionalism on one hand aside. You presented a patient. As a patient relative, you said, okay, every month I will give you 100 million naira until when the patient recovers or otherwise. The doctor will make sure that particular patient did not die, and he will continue to maintain that he did not recover, because he will keep on tapping the money. It's a simple analysis, and every simple person can understand. Mr. Speaker, it's a cash cow business. They don't want it to finish, because they realize that everybody's attention was diverted towards Northeast. Okay, let them relieve Northeast to some extent and move to Northwest. After Northwest, they move to Southwest. Before you realize what is happening, the whole country is gutted with security.
The House later adjourned due to what it described as the worsened security situation in the country, making the motion as the only item treated at plenary.
Nigeria's federal government has advised the general public to ensure that they conclude the process of linking the National Identification Number (NIN) with their subscriber identification model SIM card without further delay. The federal government had on December 31st, 2021 extended the deadline for NIN SIM linkage by 3 months, which elapsed Thursday, and had earlier warned that all SIM cards not linked before the deadline would be disconnected. However, the government in a statement said it had given telecom subscribers a few days after the March 31st, 2022 deadline to link that NIN to their SIM. According to the statement jointly signed by the Director of Public Affairs, Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC), Dr. Ikechukwu Adinde, and the Head Corporate Communications National Identity Management Commission, Kayode Adegoke, stated that citizens had been given additional few days from the March 31st deadline, which ended yesterday, to complete the process of linking the NIN to their SIM. While the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in Abuja engaged relevant stakeholders in a validation meeting on nutrition guidelines to improve school feeding programs. Dr. Umar Binde, the National Coordinator of the National Social Investment Program of the Ministry, says the aim was to have a globally acceptable document. The validation meeting on nutrition guidelines of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program was organized by the ministry.
Developed a nutritional guideline with the help of the Nutrition Society of Nigeria. So it's all not just local content, it's totally local on how do we do things, how do we train our cooks, how do we feed our children, what kind of foods can make up the menus of our local food materials. We worked very hard for nearly 2 years to develop this standard institutionalized document, and we're here to validate it. All the stakeholders, from the food scientists, from the nutritional experts, the media, everybody is here so that they can participate before we can evolve this document that can globally be useful.
Umar Farouk, represented by her technical assistant on National Homegrown School Feeding Program, Zainab Abubakar, says that the school feeding program began in 2016 and was implemented in 35 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. She noted that the program would provide one free nutritious meal to pupils from primary 1 to primary 3 in public schools nationwide.
Guidelines development became so important to us because, as you know, the state government develops a menu, working with the state nutrition officers of those states. 80% of that menu has to reflect what's readily available within that state. As a federal government, at the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, we need to ensure that whatever is on that menu is of nutritional value. We have to ensure that whatever those pupils are being fed on the program is what is going to benefit them nutritionally, which will also have an impact on their learning process.
The school feeding program is aimed at boosting the enrollment of pupils as well as their nutritional status. Now moving on to Bauchi State. Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed wants local government chairmen and traditional rulers in the state to resist the temptation of selling land in their domains to strangers coming into the state. Bala Mohammed stated this while flagging off the distribution of items worth 150 million naira in two local governments. He also urged the local chairmen to eschew selfish tendencies and stop cheating the farmers and headers that are down the ladder in their communities. Awal Hassan from Bauchi tells us more.
The program, as the name suggests, is all about making the good people of Bauchi State self-reliant by providing them with the wherewithal and conducive atmosphere or environment to be economically and socially productive.
At the grassroots level, Governor Bala Mohammed extends his empowerment program to two more local governments of Shira and Giade, where the sum of 75 million naira was earmarked for each. The program, tagged Kaura Economic Empowerment Program, KEEP, has covered more than 50% local governments in the state. The project focuses on women and youth, who are a larger proportion of the populace.
The program has therefore been designed to boost economic activities in order to address the problem of unemployment and alleviate poverty among our people, especially the vibrant youth and women of both states. The program had initially distributed over 1,000 keken and distributed over 154 buses, in addition to other empowerment which we are doing silently.
Governor Bala Mohammed is concerned about the attitudes of some traditional rulers and local government chairmen who are selling off land in their domain to strangers.
But please and please, local government chairmen, traditional rulers, state officials, we should resist the temptation of selling land in order to make temporary money. We should resist the temptation of taking the land from the people who own them, especially the cattle routes and the rest. That is why you have the complex. What we are doing is being appreciated all over the country.
Bala Mohammed says government has given over 50,000 hectares of land to investors, adding that his government is ready to give land to genuine investors. Awal Hassan, Viewer TV News, Bauchi.
When Newslive returns, NSCDC arrests 7 suspects engaged in vandalism theft in Borno State. Details of this and more comes to you right after the break. Please stay tuned.
Welcome to News Plus on Viewer Television. I am Charles Doke.
Hello and welcome to News Plus on Viewer Television. I am Joy Malik.
Hello and welcome to News Plus. I am John Matake.
Hello and welcome to News Plus. I am Eke Omarton.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Newslive, a recap of our top stories. House of Representatives asks security agencies to intensify responses to bandit attacks. Federal government urges citizens to link NIN to SIM, rules out deadline extension. Plus, 4 dead in South Korea Air Force jet crash. The Borno State NSCDC command has arrested 7 suspects involved in theft and vandalism. Parading the suspects at the Civil Defense Headquarters before newsmen in Maiduguri, the state commandant, Musa Farouk, said it is investigating a case of vandalism of electrical cables and railway tracks, adding that its patrol operatives also recovered PMS among others.
On the 28th March 2022, at about 09:30 hours, we arrested one Sanda Ali, a male, 15 years, Mohamed Baba Mustafa, a male, 17 years old, Gaji Kachala, a driver to a Golf saloon car, with which they conveyed several railway assets. For instance, irons, 60 pieces of railway irons, 7 pieces of railway sleepers. These acts, you all agree with me, offend the spirit of Nigerian economy. These guys are saboteurs, and they'll be treated within the framework of justice.
The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has begun a sensitization campaign on fire prevention and control in IDP camps in Borno State. In the last few months, IDP camps have suffered fire outbreaks which resulted to the loss of lives and property. The reports.
Fire outbreaks have been a recurring incident in Maiduguri metropolis and most especially in internally displaced camps. According to statistics, Borno State has recorded about 115 fire outbreaks in the first quarter of 2020. The alarming incident has caused more humanitarian crisis and hardships on the IDPs who had seen their shelter razed down and belongings turned ashes.
I'm saying my surrounding bay, I'm the fire service, I'm the Konuda Waja, Sayanza Konuda.
The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and stakeholders on sensitization exercise were at some IDP camps to enlighten the displaced persons on dangers of fire disaster and how to cope the reoccurrence of fire threats.
But I think for this area, this is the second or third time that fire is happening. What is your message? They should be very careful about fire. They should be very, very, very careful. You know, in a setting like this, fire is very easily to spread over, and therefore, whenever they want to use fire, they have to be very, very careful.
The causes of the fire incidences is carelessness, and this carelessness comes as a result of cooking utensils or cooking unattended to. Most of the time, you found out that okay, they will be cooking and they will be doing something else. Cooking is a program that when you are doing it, you don't involve anything again. You concentrate on the cooking. When you finish, you put out the fire and then you continue with others.
Some IDPs said they are well informed and will adhere to safety precautions of preventing fire outbreaks. We learned that it's not good to smoke in the vicinity where it can cause fire outbreak, and we shouldn't cook at open place or when it's windy because it can easily spread the flames to thatched houses. The sensitization campaign was also extended to other IDP camps and communities within the Maiduguri metropolis. Bitrus Kuruti, Viewer Television News, Maiduguri.
Well, the United States government has commenced the construction of a new consulate office, which will be the largest globally, to be situated at the iconic Eco-Atlantic City in Lagos. An impressive groundbreaking ceremony on the project, estimated at $537 million, was witnessed by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was joined by U.S. Ambassador Mary Beth Leonard and U.S. Consul General Claire Perangelo. The new consulate statement said would directly benefit the Nigerian people, and throughout the project an estimated $95 million will be invested in the local economy, with the project employing approximately 2,500 Nigerian citizens, including engineers, architects, artisans, construction workers, and administrative staff. In her remarks at the ceremony, Leonard expressed appreciation to the federal government and Lagos State government for their support. The new consulate would provide a modern space for the largest consular operation in Africa, including improved public-facing interview and waiting areas. Well, the National Emergency Management Agency on Friday received 129 Nigerians stranded from Libya at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. The Director General of NEMA, Mustafa Ahmed, who was represented by the acting coordinator of the Lagos Territorial Office of the agency, Ibrahim Failoye, confirmed the development in Lagos. Failoye said that the stranded Nigerians arrived at the cargo wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport at about 2 a.m. He added that the returnees were brought back to the country by the International Organization for Migration. This was done through a voluntary repatriation program for the distressed who had left the country to seek greener pastures in various European countries but could not afford to return home when their journey became frustrated. Failoye said that the returnees included 27 male adults, 74 female adults, 4 male and 7 female children, 6 female infants and 11 male infants, including 3 males with mental health related issues. The Tabitha Kumi Foundation, an NGO, has called on relevant stakeholders to protect girls, child and women from all forms of gender-based violence and create effective sensitization to halt the menace. Tayo Erinle, the executive director of the organization, made the call at a flashlight actions on girls safety project baseline dissemination meeting in Abuja. Director Primary Healthcare Buhari Area Council FCT Dr. Sunday Goji appreciated the NGO for its effort in ensuring that most girls in the communities were supported and protected from various violence. Also speaking, Michael Abba, head NGO in the Ministry of Health, said that the ministry would continue to partner with the foundation to promote sensitization against violence.
Communities do not offer support to the girls that suffer gender-based violence. Rather than support them, they are stigmatized. And that is why we will need to continue to sensitize communities and advocate for better support for the girls. Our strategy is a survivor-centered strategy. It's a strategy to build support around the girl, multi-sectoral support from the community, so that when cases come up, they don't handle it in a careless manner.
Minister of Health will continue to partner with you. Anytime you have anything, let us know. We'll be able to want to know how we can assist you. Keep on doing the good things you have been doing.
Area Council as a whole is very grateful to and appreciative to Tabitha Kumi Foundation. She has done a lot of work on the areas of health, education and others, and she has continued to do it. Our doors as the area council are wide open. We will give the little support and cooperation that we can, so we can achieve the objectives of this program.
Now, on the international scene, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has testified at the Human Rights Commission SAHRC's investigative hearings into the July unrest. Ramaphosa took an oath before the commission on Friday morning and began to testify on his responsibility as head of state during the deadly riots. The almost 2-week-long unrest led to the widespread looting and damage to property and infrastructure, mostly around KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng provinces. At least 350 people were killed. The SAHRC has heard 5 weeks of oral testimony from various government officials, including ministers and premiers. Chairperson Andrew Gum announced on Friday said that Ramaphosa is expected to give evidence in throughout April when the commission reconvenes for the third leg of hearings. Meanwhile, South Africa's economy lost an estimated $3.4 billion from the deadly riots, destruction of infrastructure and looting, according to the presidency. The hearing is taking place in Sandton, Johannesburg. And in Burkina Faso has dismissed regional bloc ECOWAS expression of serious concern about its 36-month transition period and calls for the immediate release of former President Roch Kabore. A few days after the summit of ECOWAS heads of state held in Accra on March 25th, the Burkina government reacted, saying it will do things on its own terms. The government spokesperson stressed that the transition duration was adopted by consensus during the national conference. On the case of former President Roch Kabore, Bilgo hinted that the consultations had been initiated for 3 weeks for Kabore's return to a family residence of his choice. When a solution is found, he will be in a residence with appropriate security. There have been growing calls in Burkina Faso for the release of the House leader Kabore, who has been under house arrest for 2 months since the coup that brought the military to power. ECOWAS heads of state at its last meeting on the social and political situations in Mali, Guinea and Burkina Faso called for the unconditional release of the former presidents. Meanwhile, 2 South Korean Air Force planes collided in mid-air Friday, killing 4 pilots, Seoul's military said. The KT-1 trainer jets crashed near the city of Sachon, about 300 kilometers south of the capital Seoul, according to military authorities. 4 pilots were killed in the accident, it added. In a statement, the Air Force says it will check the exact situation of damage and investigate the cause of the accident. The crash is one of the several incidents involving South Korean Air Force jets this year. In January, a pilot was killed in an F-5 fighter jet crash. The Korean Peninsula remains in a technical state of war as the armistice that ended the conflict in 1953 has yet to be replaced with a peace treaty. At least 8 miners were killed and more than a dozen injured following an explosion at a coal mine in southern Serbia, state media reported Friday. The explosion occurred at around 6 a.m. local time, 4 GMT, causing the mine to collapse near the town of Aleksink. According to Radio Television of Serbia, RTS, 2 miners were also being treated in the nearby city of Niš, RTS reported. At the time of the accident, at least 49 miners were believed to have been working in the mine. First responders dispatched to the scene managed to rescue about a dozen people. However, several remain trapped, according to RTS. The Aleksink region is an important mining basin in Serbia, where the energy sector remains heavily reliant on coal for power. The area has also been a scene of several similar tragedies in the past. Now moving on to Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky warns that Russia is consolidating and preparing powerful strikes in the country's east and south, including besieged Mariupol, where a new attempt will be made to evacuate civilians from the devastated city. Russia, meanwhile, threatened to turn off its gas taps to Europe if payments are not made in rubles as U.S. President Joe Biden ordered a record release of strategic oil reserves to ease soaring U.S. prices. In peace talks this week, Russia says it would scale back attacks on the capital Kyiv and the city of Chernihiv, but Ukrainian and Western officials have dismissed the pledge, saying Moscow's troops were merely regrouping.
Ударів. Потужних ударів. Будемо захищатися, будемо робити все, що зможемо ми, щоб зупинити окупантів і очистити нашу землю від їхніх злих і безглуздих химер. Хай в Москві не забувають, що санкційна політика буде тільки продовжуватись і посилюватись. Поки немає миру, потрібні санкції. Поки Росія не почала вкладатися так само щиро у пошук миру, як вона вкладається у знищення нашої держави, санкції залишаться.
You're still watching Newslive on Viewer Television. We now bring to you business news with Joy Malik. Do stay tuned.
Hello, this is Business News on Viewer Television. I am Joy Malik. Now, telecommunication providers on the days of the Association of Licensed Telecommunication Operators of Nigeria has said the rising cost of diesel has impacted negatively on their operational costs and that they are set to approach the federal government for special interventions. The president of Altin, Benga Adebayo, disclosed this during a press conference. According to him, network planning, operational expense, and projection plans for telcos are based on diesel prices. He added that the industry was worried about how the rising cost of diesel would further drive the high cost of business. He stated that there was a need for an intervention to save the sector. Operators might have no other choice but to begin a process of price review. Now, however, he stated that if network providers are unable to get any form of intervention from the government, they would approach the regulator to push for realistic pricing, which would reflect the dynamics and reality of the business climate. And on Fertilizer Act, the federal government has announced that it has commenced the implementation of the National Fertilizer Quality Control Act 2019. Now, according to the government, this is to ensure it can keep track of producers, exporters, sellers, and distributors of fertilizers. Now, this was disclosed by the Minister of Agriculture, Mohammed Nanono, in Lagos. He added that the federal government has started registering all fertilizer players of all categories in the nation. According to the minister, fertilizers are scarce in the nation and this is hampering agricultural output in the nation. The federal government says there are about 70 to 90 online lending applications currently operated by various firms in Nigeria. Now, the Executive Vice Chairman, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Babatunde Irukera, made this disclosure in Lagos during a collaborative engagement with the media to review the analyse the state of the market. He said some of the online apps were legitimate while others were operating illegally. Now, the FCCPC boss urged companies to be responsible and responsive to customer and care services. According to him, the government is more accessible and easier to find than private individuals because individuals want to make a profit. Lastly, the Association of Table Water Producers has asked the federal, state and local government to come up with a legal framework to help fight charlatans in the industry. The group says this would enable the industry to carry out its roles as contained in the laws guiding the activities of its operators. Now, in the statement, the ATWA president, Clementina Ativi, explains that no government agency will successfully wage war against fake water producers in the industry except the association. Now, according to her, members of the association are duly registered with the National Agency for Food and Administration and Control, adding that members in each state and federation can identify the location of water producers. The Atwa boss noted that in the past 2 decades, the association had championed healthy water consumption in the country. And that's all on Business News. Good night.
And that's all on Newslive. But before we go, a recap of the headlines. House of Representatives asks security agencies to intensify responses to bandits' attacks. Federal government urges citizens to link NIN to SIM, rules out deadline extension plus. 4 dead in South Korea Air Force jet crash. Many thanks for watching. I am Denver Okolo. Do stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.